Is the Samsung Galaxy A20 worth buying in 2021? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here from Smartphone Review Pro, and this is the Samsung Galaxy A20. Now this phone is not necessarily new. The device was launched in April of 2019, so we're really not too far away from this phone being 2 years old. And the main reason why I've kept mine for as long as I have is because this phone, over its lifespan, has been a very big success for both Samsung and the customers that have gotten this device. It's been a very popular phone overall. Now, if you're considering buying one at this point, there aren't too many places where you can actually get it. I believe the actual phone itself has been discontinued by Samsung, but you might be buying it secondhand, or maybe you got it as a gift, or maybe you're just curious in general about how good this phone is at this point. But regardless of that, I want to go through my favorite features about the phone and give you an overall refresher about it. And then at the end of the video, I'll give you my conclusion on whether or not it's worth getting in 2021. Now, the Samsung Galaxy A20 was offered both internationally, so you could get it factory unlocked and have it work with any GSM carrier. This phone was also being offered as a US unlocked variant that would work with all 4 major US carriers, which at the time of this being launched was AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, and Verizon. But this phone also was offered by the carriers themselves. In fact, this variant of the phone is the Metro by T-Mobile variant. So over its lifespan, this device has sold very well, especially at the prepaid carriers. Now with the Samsung Galaxy A20, we're getting a 6.4-inch display, so a pretty large display here. The display is Super AMOLED. It is 720p. We're getting a PPI of 268, a 19.5 by 9 aspect ratio, and an 85% screen to body ratio. So definitely getting Super AMOLED with the A20 is one of its strongest features. And what's interesting too is that the A21, which was the successor to this phone, actually went backwards and doesn't even have a Super AMOLED display. With that phone, we're getting an LCD display. So the fact that the A20 does have an AMOLED display here, even though it is 720p, really is awesome. Now, as far as the 720p part of it goes, I mean, since the display is very large at 6.4 inches, it is pretty obvious that it is 720 and not 1080. But that being said, colors are nice and bright, viewing angles are very good as well, and in general, I really can't complain too much about it. Now, we do have a little bit of a thicker bottom bezel, and then up top here, we do have a water drop notch, and in that notch is an 8 megapixel front-facing camera. Now, with this phone, we're getting 32 gigabytes of internal storage, so not really a ton, especially now that apps seem to be getting bigger and bigger all the time. So I would say that 32 gigs is not quite enough. A decent amount of people can probably live with that amount of space, but I know for me at least, I definitely need more than 32 gigs. And if you're wondering, since I got the phone, I have installed a variety of my own applications on it, and with that, and then also the system software, we're left with only 13.8 gigabytes available. Now that still is a decent amount of space, but I could see if I was downloading some music for offline storage and also downloading some videos, I would run out of space pretty quickly. Now thankfully with this phone, we do have microSD card expansion, but still though, in general, nothing beats having internal storage, and in my mind, adding a microSD card is really just a bonus on top of the internal storage. So if you are looking for a phone just to use for phone calls, light social media usage, occasional photos and videos, and then of course text messaging as well, then I suppose 32 gigs will be ample for you. But if you are someone that is a power user, that's constantly on social media, constantly taking photos and constantly taking videos, then you probably do want to get a device that has more internal storage. Now with the Samsung Galaxy A20, there's no wireless charging, but we do have a fingerprint sensor on the back. So let's give that a try right now. And that's a very fast fingerprint sensor. In addition to having the fingerprint sensor, we also get Face Unlock with the phone as well. Now with the Samsung Galaxy A20, we have a dual camera setup on the back with a 13 megapixel main camera and a 5 megapixel ultra wide angle camera. So what's interesting is that even though we just have 2 cameras here, we do still get portrait mode photos for the front and rear cameras. And then like I mentioned a second ago, we do get an ultra wide camera. So there are many other devices that offer the same abilities, but they give us 3 cameras. So I really don't have an issue with consolidating down to 2 cameras, considering that we still get all those various features. But here's how things look with the standard camera on the device. Then from here, we can go over to the ultra wide angle camera, and you can see that we can fit a lot more content into the frame. We can also move over to live focus portrait mode to get those nice blurred out backgrounds. And then from there, we can flip around to the front facing camera. And we do have live focus mode enabled right now. So again, those nice blurred out backgrounds. We can also switch over to the standard mode. And then we also get a pretty interesting ability here where we can switch over to a little bit of a wider field of view so that you're able to take group selfies. So definitely a lot of flexibility when it comes to the cameras here on the device. And in general, I actually think the cameras are a bit of a strong point, especially compared to, at least at the time when this phone was launched, the other options that were available. This phone really was an impressive attempt in early 2019 to give budget smartphone users features that they would typically only find with flagship phones. Now with the Galaxy A20, we have 3 gigabytes of RAM and the Samsung Exynos 7884 processor. Now I did run a benchmark test using Geekbench 5 with this device, and I'll show you the scores right now. But you can see here, I got a single core score of 269, and then a multi-core score of 985. So neither of those are necessarily that impressive. I suppose the single core score is not too bad. Now what I recommend doing is running the Geekbench 5 benchmark test on your current phone and then comparing your scores to these scores. But overall, I feel like the processor is pretty decent, and then also having 3 gigs of RAM certainly does make the phone run pretty well. But in general, this phone has been updated to Android 10 by the way, but it does run nice and smoothly, going around the interface here, and then browsing the web, going on social media, and watching video content also performs decently well. Now this phone originally did come with Android 9 Pie, and has since gotten the Android 10 update, and I believe at the moment, Samsung's policy when it comes to how often they're going to be updating their phones to newer versions of Android is 2 years. So we've already gotten the first year of updates, so really if they hold up to their promise, this phone should eventually get Android 11. Another thing I want to mention as well about this device is that video recording with both the front and rear cameras maxes out at 1080p, so there's no 4K video recording with this phone, unfortunately. And then we're getting a pretty large 4,000 milliamp hour internal battery, and we're also getting 15 watt fast charging. But now that we've gone over the major specifications of this phone, let's now take a closer look at the hardware. Now I already talked quite a bit about the front panel here. Really a great looking display. I mean, you can probably tell how great the colors pop on this video here. I mean, really nice looking colors in general. Now up top here, again, we have that water drop notch. Not really too big of a deal. I do prefer a hole punch for the front facing camera instead, but this is totally fine. And then the bottom bezel, again, not too thick, but a little on the thicker side. Now in general, despite this phone being made out of all plastic minus the glass display, the phone does feel nice and solid, and it does feel high quality. Now on the left side of the phone, we have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. Then on the right side of the phone, we have the power button, volume down and volume up. Then up top here on the device, we have the noise canceling microphone. And then on the bottom, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, USB-C port for charging and data transfer. We have the microphone, and we have the speaker. And then on the back side of the phone, you can see that we have this charcoal look. It is a reflective back, and it does pick up quite a few fingerprints. But we have that dual camera setup, the flash, fingerprint sensor, and the Samsung logo. And it actually was a renewed device when I got it. Now, if you're not too familiar with renewed phones, essentially they are previously used, but they're in really good condition. Now, there's definitely some pros and cons when it comes to watching video content on the phone. The biggest pro is that the colors look really good. But the downside is that since the display is only 720p, you are limited at watching 720p video on YouTube. So if you are someone that really wants to watch 1080p content, then unfortunately you are limited to only 720p with this device. Another downside with it as well is that audio only comes out of the speaker on the bottom of the phone, and nothing comes out of the earpiece. Now, that's pretty common with a lot of phones out there. However, some of the newer devices, especially from Motorola, for example, actually have audio that comes out of both the earpiece and the bottom speaker, giving you a more immersive audio listening experience. So in conclusion, is the Samsung Galaxy A20 worth buying in 2021? I would say that it is a decent option if you can get it for the right price. Now, since this phone has launched, we've had quite a few other phones become available, as you can imagine, and the under $200 budget segment has really exploded with a lot of different choices. Now, is this phone a bad choice in 2021? No, I don't think it is, but again, most likely you are gonna have to buy it used because at this point there are not too many places that are selling it new. And if you are gonna get this used, then I personally recommend not spending any more than $100 on it. But this is the Samsung Galaxy A20 in 2021. Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments section below about the device and anything else on your mind regarding the phone. But this is Kevin here, and I will see you in the next video.